I'd like to call this June 10th meeting of the City of Olive Branch Planning Commission open or to order. Reminder that this meeting will be live streamed and recorded on the city's YouTube channel. Can we get a roll call?
Pat Dorr, Dion Jones,
Here.
Janice Lewis,
Here.
Kimberly Remack,
Here.
Diane Singer,
Here.
Donnie Singh,
Here.
Steve Stratton.
All right, thank you. Everyone's received their minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes? Are there any suggested changes or edits? If no, I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Can we get our screens?
Yeah,
Thank
there
you.
you go, thank you. Motion to approve by Janice,
Second.
second by Diane. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to, there you go. We've got two items for old business that have been asked to be tabled. The application to amend the project text for Oaks at Parkview Heights, Area 3B, submitted by David Baker, Fisher Arnold Incorporated on behalf of Trey Hart Mainland, MCA Olive Branch LLC property owner. The request is to permit the development of the area for single-family residential condominium dwellings and to approve the associated preliminary development plan. The 6.96 plus or minus acre subject property is zoned PUD, Plan Unit Development, and is located at the northwest corner of Parkview Oaks Circle and Parkview Boulevard. There's an accompanying application to combine lots 1A and 1B into a single lot. Could I read both of those and just ask for a motion for both of those? An application for the first revision to Oaks at Parkview Heights, Phase 2, Area 3 subdivision submitted by David Baker, Fisher Arnold Incorporated on behalf of Trey Hart Mainland, MCA Olive Branch LLC property owner. The request is to combine lots 1A and 1B into a single lot, one of 6.96 plus or minus acres. The subject property is zoned Planned Unit Development and is located at the northwest corner of Parkview Oaks Circle and Parkview Boulevard.
Motion to table both applications until July 8th, 2025.
Motion by Kim, second by Mr. C.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion to table is passed. Number 3 on old business, application for preliminary plat for Highland Lake subdivision submitted by Nick Croonan, Civil Link, on behalf of property owner Bryant Cashin, FSB and Company, LLC. The request is to create 20 residential lots and 2 common open spaces from 6.94 plus or minus acres. The subject property is zoned R3, Planned Residential District, and is on the west side of Highway 305, just north of College Road, known as 4225 Highway 305. And this was tabled to this date at the meeting of May 8th, 2025.
Motion to table application until July 8th, 2025.
Motion to table.
Second.
Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 4. Application for, now, is this one going to be tabled?
No, sir.
Okay.
Yes, it's prepared for the report.
All right, thank you. Application for final plat for Center Hill Farm subdivision, Phase 1, submitted by Nick Croonan, Civil Link LLC, on behalf of Johnny McBride, member, Center Hill Development LLC property owner. The request is to create 88 lots and 4 common open spaces from 48.28 plus or minus acres. The subject property is zoned PUD, Planning Unit Development District, located on the west side of Center Hill Road, approximately 700 feet north of Valley Oaks Drive, east, and about 1,800 feet south of Highway 302 and Center Hill Road intersection. Can we get staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners. Before you is a request to consider the final plat for Center Hill Farms subdivision. Regarding the general location of the subject property, this is Fox Creek subdivision, this is Braeburn. If you're heading eastward towards Marshall County, this will be Highway 302. This is the intersection of Highway 302, Goodman Road and Center Hill Road. If you go south, then this is the subject property that you're looking at. Phase 1 of the subdivision essentially encompasses this area that has been, that per this picture you see graded. It will consist of 88 buildable single-family residential lots. Basically, this area marked here in the boundary in blue, and the lots shown here in red. So there will be 88 single-family detached residential lots. The final plat that you have aligns with the preliminary plat that was approved by the Board of Aldermen on August 20th, 2024. As such, essentially, it meets zoning requirements which were reviewed in that particular plat. The smallest lot size being proposed is 8,916 square feet, which aligns with that preliminary plat and the project text for Center Hill Farms subdivision. Lots 22, 23, and 24, which are these lots down here, are joined FEMA floodplain shown here in yellow. Why it is generally advisable for all the lots to have finished flood elevations indicated on them, it is very imperative when those lots are joined or have any part of a FEMA floodplain close to or in them. As such, it is important that the finished flood elevations be added to this plat, especially for those 3 lots. Common open spaces are proposed in this subdivision. 2 of them are mainly for stormwater management at this location and down here. There is a third, there are 3 actually. There's a third, is another common open space with a stormwater detention area down here. You also have street boulevards that are proposed. This Wesley Banks Boulevard has got medians. This area shown here in green, those are medians that are proposed to be common open spaces. They will be within the public right-of-way, but be maintained by the homeowners association. Utilities have been generally constructed on the side, water and sewer infrastructure. New streets are proposed, which include sections of Lucy Drive, Wesley Banks Boulevard, John Hamilton Way East, Beckett Lane, Molly Magdalene Lane, and Jack Thomas Boulevard. These are street sections included in this first phase that will be extended into the second phase, except, of course, Beckett Lane that has been fully constructed in this particular phase 1. 911 and our GIS department have reviewed these names, and they have been determined to conform with the policy, city's policy with regard to street naming. So they do not duplicate other names within the E911 system. Total number of these street sections will be 6,723 feet. They are all proposed to become public street upon the recordation of this plat. So these will become public streets. One thing that I think it's important for me to mention with regard to these utilities and transportation. I just left the site about 5 minutes ago, heading to this meeting. Last week, I was under the impression that at this time, when the staff report was done, the first lift of asphalt would have been laid. But it would appear that because of weather conditions, that has not been done. Generally, when it comes to major subdivisions in the city, we do not move forward final plats to approval by the Board of Aldermen without the first lift of asphalt at least having been laid. That is city's policy, that has been a standard practice. It's also why in your packet you do not have a memo from the city engineer. When it comes to minor subdivision plats, planning can generally handle that. When it comes to major subdivisions, where you're building new streets, you are laying new utility lines, it's imperative that the city engineer and the engineering department go out, they inspect the infrastructure, and they provide you a memo stating the conditions of those lines, whether everything is okay to move forward for approval by the Board of Aldermen. The first lift of asphalt, as I did indicate, has not yet been laid. As such, I will be making a bit of a revision to the staff recommendation. This is the final plat as proposed. The layout generally conforms, I did indicate, it basically matches what you had in the preliminary plat. Staff recommends approval of this phase 1 of the final plat for Center Hill Farm subdivision subject to a number of conditions. A couple of them that I want to highlight. Number 4 being the need for the finished floor elevations to be added, especially to those lot 22, 23, and 24 that adjoin the FEMA floodplain, the flood hazard area. It's important, condition number 5, the plat currently shows the eastern property boundary line for the subdivision almost to the center line of Center Hill Road. It's important that that be moved westward to the boundary of the subdivision itself, instead of putting it to the center of the road. That's basically what that condition number 5 is addressing. Condition number 7 is a standard. The developer shall submit to the City of Olive Branch a letter of credit of sufficient amount as will be determined by the city engineer plus a 25% contingency for the completion of all uncompleted public improvements required in the land area constitutive of this phase 1 and any as-built. That does not mean everything in the subdivision can be bonded, so to speak. There is a minimum that has to already be in place, and then the rest can be covered under a letter of credit. That minimum, of course, includes that first lift of asphalt. The developer, this is a requirement in the preliminary plat. We do not yet have it. The developer needs to provide the CCROs for the subdivision. Usually that has to be reviewed together with this final plat and approved as such. Before this plat moves to the Board of Alderman for approval, we need to have those CCRs, the covenants, conditions, and restrictions reviewed to ensure that all the provisions in there align with the project text and with any of the approval conditions for the preliminary plat and the final plat. A building permit shall not be issued for construction on the proposed lot until that first lift of asphalt is in place. My hope was that that would have been done by today. That not being the case and following standard process and procedures in the city, instead of tabling the plat, I would update this condition number 9 to basically be that before this moves forward to the Board of Alderman, we need to have that first lift of asphalt in place, and we need the city engineer's inspection checklist and his memo. Personally, I'm not very comfortable presenting final plats to Board of Alderman without the city engineer's recommendation, because final plats really are not planning function, it's more of engineering stuff. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Just one from me. So are you suggesting that we change number 9 to, or include the language in number 9 that before it's sent to the board that there's asphalt laid?
Yes, we need, I've discussed with the city engineer. He says basically he's not going to send out engineering inspectors out there to go and inspect the site and give him any punch list until those things are in place.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. Thank you. Is the applicant here to speak on this?
Nicholas Greenan, address 3629 College Road, South Haven, Mississippi. Bars to address any questions y'all may have. The CCRs, we do have them ready. We can submit those and have them ready before the board meeting. Anything else, just let us know. If you have any questions, we're good with all the conditions.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Nick, you guys on track to get that asphalt poured before the meeting? Okay.
It just got hit with all the rain this past week and just held up. So as soon as it dries up, they can get it down.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
Is anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Is anyone here to speak in opposition of this application? Okay. All right, I'll leave it to bring this back to the board or planning commission.
Make a motion to approve with all the staff recommendations, including updating number 9 to reflect that the asphalt must be poured and the civil engineer's recommendation must be given before it's presented to the board.
I have a motion from Donnie, including the edit to number 9.
Second that motion.
I have a second from Kim. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion moves forward. Thank you. New business number 1. This is an application for a final plat for Area 9 of Robinson Crossing. Commercial subdivision submitted by Byron Houston, Houston Engineering, on behalf of property owners Pleasant Hill Land and Development Company. The request is to subdivide 5.72 plus or minus acres into 3 commercial lots. The subject property is zoned PUD Plan Unit Development and is located at the southeast corner of Malone Road North and Church Road East. Before we move forward for staff presentation, I've been informed that there are a number of people here to speak on this application. I just want to remind everybody that this is a request to subdivide. It's not rezoning. So therefore, it's not an advertised public hearing, open for everyone to speak. However, because it is a public meeting, and I'd like to give an opportunity for representatives from the neighborhood to speak, I will be asking for representatives, and we've got a couple of people who've already submitted their request to speak. So first, we'll have the planning staff give us their report. The applicant will make their presentation. Then will be an open discussion from the Planning Commission, and then I will ask if there are a couple representatives from Robinson Crossing who would like to speak on behalf of the neighborhood. Then we will seek a motion from the Planning Commission. Again, this is for subdivision, not a zoning change. Can I get a report from staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Planning Commissioners, before you is a request to consider and approve the final plat for Robinson Crossing Area 9. This area is constituted of 5.72 acres, bounded here in white. So to give you a general location in the city, this is Church Road East, this is Malone Road North. It's now been punched all through up to Goodman Road. Robinson Crossing subdivision, the residential part of it, is to the south of this particular piece of property, or this particular area, 5.72 acres. This is a PUD, a planned unit development. What that really means is the development conditions or specifications for this piece of property are as they are specified in the project text, not in the general zoning ordinance of the city. So in the review of this subdivision plat, the provisions or the specifications of the project text rule. They're really the binding, they determine, they dictate what has to happen on this particular site. The applicant proposes to subdivide this area 9 into 3 lots, 3 commercial lots. Lot 1 being 2.18 acres, lot 2, 1.65 acres, lot 3, 1.89 acres. The property, as I did mention, is at the southeast corner of the intersection of Church Road East and Malone Road North. The development or the subdivision plat proposes cross-access easements between these 3 lots, which are shown here in gray. So you have 1 cross-access easement or 2 cross-access easements that will provide direct access to Church Road East, and 1 cross-access easement to the rear that will provide access to Malone Road North. A stormwater detention area is also proposed at the rear of the property. This will be a regional detention in the sense that it will take care of the stormwater from all 3 lots. So each of the lots would not have a separate stormwater management facility. All the 3 lots will be managed on one site at this particular location. There is a 20-feet wide buffer, shown here in green, proposed between the subdivision lots, the buildable area of the subdivision lots, and the residential area to the south. That 20-feet wide buffer is what was required in the project text for Robinson Crossing. So that conforms, aligns with zoning requirement or what was required and approved in the project text for Robinson Crossing. The development intent at this time, one may ask, why is this subdivision before the board? Why does a property owner want to move forward with the division of this property at this time? There is a development intent to construct a convenience store with fuel pumps and a car wash on these one or two of these particular lots in this subdivision. And I will touch more on these in the next slides in terms of this particular intent. To give a bit of a background, historical background on this subdivision, especially because in the approval of the subdivision plat, it has to align with the project text. What does this project text say? The project text for Robinson Crossing was approved by the DeSoto County Board of Supervisors on March 3, 2004. That is over 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 21 years ago. The property was annexed into the city of Olive Branch with the PUD zoning intact on May 28, 2021. So when the property was annexed into the city, it came with the project text as it is. That project text remains binding unless the city amends it, and there has been one amendment to it by the city of Olive Branch. So apart from that one amendment, every other provision in the project text as it came from the county remains binding. The entire PUD, both the commercial, the residential area, senior living facility area, consisted of 231.60 acres. What is before you concerns only Area 9, 5.72 acres, not the entire 231.60 acres. The master plan, as I did indicate, shows this particular Area 9, areas 1 through 7 are for single-family residential development. They are not part of this subdivision application. You have over 300 lots that are currently platted with over 250 homes built. Those lots are not part of this subdivision. The only thing you're looking at is this area shown here in that popular color. Area 8, which is to the east of this Area 9, is planned for a retirement housing. That also is not part of this subdivision. The subject property is only this Area 9. The project text for this Area 9 specified back in 2004 that with regard to the permitted uses, this is a zoning issue. Convenience stores were permitted, that's by right. And then you had car wash as an accessory use to convenience store, also permitted by right in 2004. Since then, the city of Olive Branch, having annexed this property into the city, has made one amendment to the project text, as I did indicate. That happened in 2022. The Board of Aldermen, in 2022, the Board of Aldermen of the city adopted regulations amending the city's conventional zoning districts, C1, C2, C3, M1, M2, and M2, to only allow convenience stores with fuel pumps if they were subjecting all of them to a conditional use permits. That happened in 2022. That included requirements for them to be located at the signalized intersections with no more than 2 at a 4-way intersection. That happened in 2022. At that time, this project text already existed. You can say it was grandfathered to some regard. In 2024, last year, the board expanded these regulations to require convenience stores with fuel pumps to obtain conditional use permits in planned development districts. So in 2022, planned development districts were not covered. Basically, what that ordinance said was convenience stores with fuel pumps will be permitted in planned development districts subject to whatever is written in the project text. In 2024, the board decided to change that language and actually name the different project texts in the city that permitted convenience store with fuel pumps, especially those that permitted them by right, to explicitly make them subject to conditional use permits. That included Robinson Crossing, this particular development. So the Board of Aldermen amended the project text in 17 planned development districts, and the language regarding this Robinson Crossing in that project text stated that the 5.72 Area 9, which you are looking at today, planned unit development, located at the southeast corner of Malone Road and Church Road, to remove convenience store from the list of permitted uses and add convenience store with fuel pumps as a conditional use. So that ceased from being a permitted use and became a conditional use based on that amendment. Those particular regulations were also associated with another ordinance, which was an amendment of the zoning text of the city itself. That amendment provided for what are called vested rights to what were termed projects. These basically were developments that were already in the pipeline. You had projects that were already reviewing the site plans, for example, before these new regulations went into effect. The board did not want to impose regulations on them where you have to go back and redo everything from afresh if they're already under review. You have convenience stores that were already under construction. The Planning Commission actually recommended these regulations for the board's approval, if you may recall. And in those vested rights provisions, which the applicant is intended to take subject this particular plat to, timelines were stated therein for you to be vested. In other words, for you not to be required to go and obtain a conditional use permit before you move forward with a convenience store with fuel pumps, you ought to have the preliminary plat approved by June 30th, 2025. You ought to have the final plat approved and recorded by September 30th, 2025. So the application before you is essentially to get this plat approved and recorded before September 30th, 2025, not 2029. Sorry, that's supposed to be 2025. So as to be able to remain vested under the current provisions. If the plat is not recorded by that date, then to have a convenience store with fuel pumps there, they'll have to go and get a conditional use permit from the Board of Zoning Adjustment. So summarily, that's the key why you have this application before you at this time. The Robinson Crossing Plan Unit development is not limited to the use list. It incorporates, this is a zoning issue, it incorporates a master development plan. And these are images regarding illustrations regarding that master development plan. The Area 9 you are looking at, for example, was envisioned back in 2004 when the project text and preliminary development plan were approved to consist of 3 lots or 3 parcels, 1, 2, and a larger area, 3. So that was a master plan series on which lot lines and building footprints were shown. You also have ingress, egress areas listed. I will touch on this in the course of the presentation as we move forward. I should underline this. The project text approved by the county had language in it which specified that these layouts express the general intent of the development. It acknowledged, the project text has general statements acknowledging parts of the map series are essentially general and conceptual, and they are subject to amendments. This is common with project text. The extent to which one changes from those preliminary layout plans, which may then require an amendment to the project text, is usually determined by the Planning Commission and the Board of Aldermen. So this is conceptual. At a time when anybody comes up, especially when it has to do with commercial development, we all know that with the passing of time, things are going to change, they're going to be adjusted. But to what extent can you change before that becomes before there is a requirement for a project text amendment. That is generally determined by the Board Planning Commission and the Board of Aldermen. The PUD project text states final plans for each phase will be required. So, once the project text, the subdivision plat is approved, site plans still have to be submitted. That is the next phase of the development. There will still be site plans that will have to be reviewed and approved. Those site plans, when they are approved, are also subject to the vesting provisions. If you see here, it says civil site plan approval by December 31st, 2025. So if the developer wants to move forward with this, they have to get a final plan approved, recorded by September 30th. They have to get the civil set of plans approved by December 31st to be able to move forward with that particular development intent. In 2004, what was envisioned and what was put on the master outline plan, you had two small lots and one large lot. Maybe that was intended to be for, it looks like a shopping center, if you look at the layout. That was what was envisioned back over 20 years ago. It was probably also planned for a convenience store and accessory car wash. The language in the project text says convenience store is permitted by right, your car wash is permitted as an accessory use. Market conditions with respect to this particular use have changed over time. If you go back to 2000, early 2000s, and really see what was happening. If you look at the convenience store that we have at the intersection of Church Road and Highway 305, I think it's opposite CVS, is it CVS or Walgreens? CVS, at that intersection. You have a convenience store and then you have a car wash, little car wash by the side. That is the kind of the way car washes were being done at, back then. You had a convenience store and then you have a little car wash that was more of accessory to the convenience store. That's the way this was written. So the depth of the property was pretty small. It wasn't a large piece of property. Different from what you have today, where car washes have basically become these long, full-scale developments. The PUD project text also states that the final site plan is required for each phase. So this phase 1 will require a site plan, and that it must comply with the regulations to establish that it is substantially conform to the conditions of the outline plan. I wish to underline this, that it substantially conforms to the conditions of the outline plan. That is the outline plan. Whether it substantially conforms or not, that is subjective. That is for the Planning Commission to determine. That's for the Board of Aldermen to decide. The scope of a subdivision plat review. It's very important to emphasize this. Subdivision plats are not about the specific potential use of a lot. I have provided all of this information regarding convenience store and with gas pumps and car wash as background information. It is not determinative with regard to the approval of this plat. If zoning permits a use, zoning permits it. If zoning makes a use a conditional use, zoning makes it a conditional use. Subdivision plats do not go into determining whether a piece of property should be used for a particular, should come under a particular type of use or not. So the application before you is not about rezoning the property to permit a convenience store or not to permit a convenience store. That's not the application before you. Therefore, the future land use of the proposed lot pursuant to approved zoning cannot be the basis to deny the subdivision plat of a piece of property in the city. Legally, you cannot do that. Subdivision plats address two main things. First, the partitioning of the property. Whether that partitioning in terms of lot sizes meets the minimum lot sizes in the zoning ordinance. For example, the R1 zoning district in the city, or let's just say the AR district in the city, requires lot size to be minimum 1 acre. If you propose a subdivision in the AR district and the lot size is half an acre, the city will not approve it because it doesn't meet minimum lot size. So the partitioning of those lots have to meet such bulk regulations as lot sizes their configuration, the setback requirements, if you have a building on it and you propose a new property line, does that building meet the setbacks that you are proposing? That is the first thing that subdivision regulations address. In the case of plan unit developments, it has to comply with the project text and associated preliminary development plan for Robinson Crossing in this particular case. So that the first thing has to do with the partitioning of the lot, not the use. The second, whether there is available and sufficient subdivision infrastructure to service those lots. That has to do with utilities, it has to do with streets. If a developer, for example, proposes a subdivision along a small local street, that the type of development proposed there, let's say you're proposing a development for 50 lots, but you don't have sewer to service those lots, the city has a right to deny it because you don't have the subdivision infrastructure to service those lots. So really the two issues before you in the review of this subdivision are the partitioning of the lots and the availability and sufficiency of the subdivision infrastructure. That's really what this subdivision plan is about, not the intended use. The first element, the partitioning of the lots and conformity with the plan unit development or the project text for Robinson Crossing. The 2004 plan that you have before you showed 3 lots in this area. So this area had to be partitioned into 3 lots, broadly speaking. 1, 2, 3. The proposal before you is also for 3 lots. So you had 1, 2, 3. Let me step back. So the first 2, those 2 small lots, the outline was drawn to scale. If you take that scale and you measure it, it really comes up to about 0.4 acres in size. Each of those 2 smaller lots. The larger one was 4.92 acres in size. The proposal before you is still to create 3 lots, but one of them will be 2.18 acres, the other 1.65 acres, and the other 1.89 acres. Generally, what zoning addresses is minimum lot sizes. Generally, what zoning really addresses is minimum lot size, not maximum lot sizes. In looking at this, it's for the Planning Commission and the board, and as I did mention, the project text includes language that certain adjustments could be made, as you move forward in the project text or to the platting phase of the subdivision. These 2 lots were only 125 feet deep. The current ones as proposed are over 400 feet deep. The bulk requirements, and this is a zoning element, the bulk requirements in the project text state, and I quote directly, development of the community will be guided by the outline plan. What you have laid before you is the outline plan for Area 8. The preliminary site plan and the area use descriptions. The question before the Planning Commission is, does what is proposed conform substantially in size and the general layout as it was approved in the project text for Robinson Crossing regarding this particular area? The second element deals with the availability and sufficiency of the subdivision infrastructure that has to do with streets and utilities. There is a 12-inch water line across the street that is sufficient for commercial development. There is an 8-inch sewer line to the north at this intersection. There is another 8-inch sewer line to the south. It's the responsibility of the developer, as in other developments in the city, to extend those lines to service those 3 lots. There is also the gas line shown here in yellow. There is sufficient utility infrastructure within the area of the vicinity of this particular subdivision to provide for the commercial development of those lots as proposed. With regard to streets, Church Road is a 5-lane road. It has sufficient capacity for commercial developments, especially neighborhood scale commercial development. This is basically the same thing you have in other areas along this particular road. We should take note, however, that this particular intersection is not signalized, different from what you have maybe at the intersection of Craft and Church. There's a commercial node there that is signalized. Pleasant and Church is signalized. Get Well, if you move further into South Devon, Getwell, and Church is also signalized. That's the only difference you have with this particular intersection. But in terms of street capacity, yes, Church Road is minor arterial, Malone Road is a collector street. This is really at the intersection of a collector and a minor arterial road, not small local streets as you will have within residential developments. Regarding circulation and stormwater management, these are still elements of subdivision infrastructure. The outline plan, as approved in 2004, called for 3 points of ingress and egress onto Church Road. The applicant proposes to reduce them to 2. So you have 2 one year and the other year. That is better than having 3. Usually when you're dealing with arterial roads, you want to reduce the number of points for people to be entering and leaving the site. The more you have, the more you subject the development to accident risk due to turns. So what they have proposed in terms of access to Church Road is actually better than what was approved in 2004. The outline plan also included, so this is, you can say, vested, the applicant has a right to this. This was approved back in 2004. Access to Malone Road, that was shown here in the outline plan of 2004. That access is maintained in the final plat before you. The applicant also proposes a stormwater management area. This is over 85 feet wide. In addition to the 20 feet buffer zone, to the rear, that is 100 feet, and then you have your cross-access easement. So the buildable area of the lot, the distance from the buildable area right up to the single-family residential lots at the back is really about 120 feet per the proposed plans. Why the plan unit development did not contain specific architectural requirements, it makes reference to the need for CCROs, that is the conditions, covenants, and the covenants, conditions, and restrictions to be provided for review. That has not been provided in this particular application. That is not accompanying this plat before you. So there is need to have those CCRs. Staff recommends, there are 3 motions before the board for consideration. The first, you may recommend approval of this plat to the Board of Aldermen, subject to a number of conditions 1 to 9. Condition number 2 being the need for those CCROs to be provided, reviewed, to make sure that the number, size, and materials regarding signage, the architecture of buildings, everything will align with what we have in the project text. These CCROs will be reviewed and approved by the city's Planning and Development Department before the final plat is recorded. So that is one condition you have before you, approval subject to these 9 conditions. The civil site plan for grading, all of those needs to be provided, reviewed by the city engineer, and approved. This lot number 1 has a cross-access easement that does not touch lot 2. Normally you want to have those cross-access easement touching the adjoining lots in one way or the other, except the applicant only proposes to have the cross-access at the rear. Now, where this circulation you have them, it appears that from the project text approved in 2002, the outline plan contemplated having the cross-access at the rear of those lots, if you look at the layout of those smaller lots. The motion you can also consider a denial of this application on the basis that if you find, should the Planning Commission find that the final plat does not conform to the Robinson Crossing PUD outline plan or other aspects of the project text, the map series, or the project text. Recommend, therefore, that the Board of Aldermen deny the application. This will require that the applicant should either revise the plat to have the layout the same as it were in 2004, or to file an amendment with that project text with the outline plan for you to consider that amendment concurrently with the subdivision plat. Alternatively, you may table this application if the applicant is, open to revising the project text to in any way, shape, or form to align with the proposed subdivision plat before you, similar to what you did with Bristol Oaks. So that is the third option that you have. If the applicant is willing to make any amendments, you can recommend that it be tabled until those revisions are made and brought before you regarding the project text. In that case, you will review both the subdivision plat and the project text amendment concurrently. Those are the options you have before you for consideration. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, staff, for a very detailed presentation. Does anyone have any questions for staff?
I got two questions. First question is, you did just say that there is an amendment pending that would be a possible reason to table this, is that correct?
No, sir, there is not an amendment pending. You have the option, if you determine that the final plat before you does not conform with the general outline of the project text substantially as it was approved back in early 2000, you could, if the applicant is open to amending the project text so that the outline plan reflects his new preliminary, the final plat layout, then you could table it and ask him to go and submit a request to amend the project text. But at this time, there is no application to amend the project text or the preliminary layout plan. You don't have that before you.
So my second question is, despite the fact that it appears that in 2024, December 2024, we addressed a concern that some things needed to go before a conditional board, and the fact that there's some degree of the overall layout and concept of Area 9 changing from a four acre and then 2 small lots to larger lots. We're still up against a timeline of September of this year that we're trying to get this through before then, so that those conditional terms and the other things don't apply. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Those timelines they are hard dates. They are law, basically. That's the zoning ordinance. Only the Board of Aldermen can amend those laws. But obtaining the conditional use permit, doing any other thing, those are hard dates that they have to meet. If they want to remain vested, if those dates pass, then they are no longer vested. To have a convenience store there with a car wash, a convenience store with fuel pumps, you will have to get a conditional use permit from the Board of Zoning Adjustment.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
I have one question. So the preliminary plat has already been approved on this one, correct?
The outline plan,
The outline plan with the PUD, not the preliminary.
yes, that basically that constitutes the preliminary plat.
Yeah,
Because in this particular case, you do not have the requirement for new streets
yeah,
and new major utility lines. If there were no roads there, then you would have had to do a new preliminary plan.
yeah.
But because you already have new streets, you have public utility lines, a preliminary plan is not required. The outline plan satisfies the preliminary plan requirement.
If the developer didn't want to split it up into 3 lots, I mean, all he would he would by right be allowed to build a gas station, like one big gas station in the entire lot, would he not?
Can you, I didn't
If
get,
he didn't want to split it up into 3 lots and just keep it as 1 lot, all he would have to do is record a final plat and present a civil site plan, right? Before September?
before September,
That's the alternative. right?
before,
Yeah.
before September.
Yeah,
If he came up with just 1 lot
yeah,
subdivision, of course, that 1 lot subdivision plan will
Yeah.
come before you for review and approval. And you will still have to make the same determination,
Yep.
whether 1 giant lot is okay
Yep.
when the outline plan call for 3.
sure.
And it's not uncommon in the city. In the project text, standard practice, as I've seen with basically subdivision, especially commercial developments.
Sure.
At the time when the project text, the outline plan is being done, nobody knows exactly how things are going to look like. So there is always language in the project text that says this is generally conceptual, certain things may be adjusted as time goes on. The extent to which you permit an adjustment is what you are really determining.
I just got to, and maybe you can't answer this, but if the lot stayed at 0.4 acres and he wanted to build a gas station, would it comply with our, I'm sorry, a convenience store with fuel pumps? Would it meet our current regulations if it was 0.4 acres? Setbacks, distance from,
The current regulations require that convenience store with fuel pumps be on lots at least 2 acres in size. That is if you are not vested. That's a key thing. Because the application is vested, which is why the applicant is trying to move forward, those regulations will not apply. But if September 30th passes and the final plat is not recorded, then he has to go and get a conditional use permit, and at that time, the new requirements will be enforced. The requirement to be at a signalized intersection, the requirement to have minimum 2 acre lot size will be in effect.
Okay.
But at this time, they are not because of the vesting element.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Is the applicant here who would like to speak on this application?
Byron Houston with Houston Engineering, P.O. Box 3087, Oxford, Mississippi, 38655. Good evening. Basically, these PUDs are basically an outline plan, and mostly the areas of that PUD or that plan development are for types of use and transportation type items. Matter of fact, in the outline plan, in the 4th paragraph, on the first page of the general statement, it advises that, the lot lines and some of the layout that's shown are subject to change due to topography and other conditions. And some of the conditions now that apply is, that lot's probably not to scale, first of all. You can't build just about couldn't build anything on a 0.4 acre lot now, because setbacks on the front, that lot are 50 feet. You'd have 50-foot setback on Church Road and on Malone Road. And then you would have the rear setback, so you'd be down to probably around 1,500 square foot building. But generally, PUD plans are aspirational, and they're modified on a regular basis without having to go back through and modify project text. We believe that the plan conforms closely to the plan. It's, just the shape of the lots is a little different, but we would ask that you approve. And we also don't agree with a couple items. Item 3, if we move the shared access easement that's running north to south on Lot 1 eastward, now I do agree that we can make that happen if we move the west line of Lot 2 or the east line of Lot 1. We can move it over to the center of that drive. That's no problem. We can modify that. Item 5, though, it refers to the access easement or access on Church Road to the far east. It needs to stay on that side because there is a 60-foot setback on that side that would make it problematic to place a building on it like it needs to be. If we move the drive to the other side of the lot, then you're going to squeeze that down and severely limit that site. And one thing we did, it also gives you further distance from the intersection, which does make it safer. It also gets you further from that other drive, which makes it safer. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any questions before I? All right. As a reminder, this is not
Can I speak?
yes, sir.
I'm the applicant, and I just want to say that this was done in 2005, and I don't know how many PUDs we've done in our lifetime on our properties, and it's usual and customary in anything you do, when you do a PUD, that you can make modifications and changes in them, especially when they go for a long period of time. For instance, Snowden Park over there on Getwell was done in 1972, and I happened to be at the presentation. And here we are 50 years later, and basically did exactly the same thing that Bartholomew presented to the county back in 1972. But for these type changes to take place, I just feel like it's improper to try to make us live with something that was done in 2004. We have the city of Olive Branch changed the regulation and imposed it upon us with a time limit. And you know, we have time frames and we plan things way out in advance. And we had planned to do a convenience store there after Malone Road came from Bridgetown all the way to college and all the way to church. And that was when we were going to do it. The city of South Haven has blackballed convenience stores, and now Olive Branch is blackballing convenience stores. So we have this last opportunity to do a convenience store, and we would like to do a car wash. But we would like for it to be on separate lots. I mean, it's a huge investment today, y'all. When you mention car wash, you might be talking, a few years ago, $500,000. Now you're talking $3.5 million. And I know that some of the people on this board know exactly what I'm talking about. It needs to be on 2 separate lots. Thank you, Donnie. But I just had to get up here and tell the truth. My son, Barry Bridgeforth Jr., has spent more hours protecting these people that are here to oppose us. He has spent hours upon hours upon hours. Every week, he goes through there at least once a day. He reports back to my staff of anything that needs to be done out there. And I'm just very upset to see all of this opposition here, and I just want y'all to know that. Thank you for my time.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Just state your name for the record.
Okay.
All right. And again, as a reminder, this is an application for subdivision. This is not an open public hearing. But I do have 2 names I'd like to invite up to speak as representatives for the neighborhood. Eric Houston.
Good evening. My name is Eric Houston, 4403 Robinson Loop East, Olive Branch, Mississippi. And I appreciate Mr. Bridgeforth's desire to not be held to what was approved in 2004 due to the passage of time, but that is not the residents' position, nor do we believe it should be yours. I am a resident of Robinson Crossing, and I appreciate the commission and the vice chair allowing comment on this matter. I'm here representing my neighbors, hundreds of whom are concerned with this proposed development. We have concerns for the health and well-being of ourselves and our children. We have concerns for the noise and light pollution it will bring, the traffic that is sure to congest the entrance of our neighborhood, all valid concerns, which the city itself used as a foundation for the ordinance passed in December, which Mr. Bridgeforth is seeking to vest this property under. You can see by the attendance tonight that these issues are deeply troubling to us, the people who will most be affected by them. It's clear to us that the intended and proposed use of this property in 2025 is not in line with what was intended or approved in the PUD's master plan from 2004. But those concerns aren't necessarily a question this evening. I understand that. That's potentially for another time. What I would like to point out to this body is that even though the staff report has declined to make a recommendation to approve, table, or deny Mr. Bridgeforth's application, the facts are laid out plainly. This application, as submitted, is significantly and substantially different than what was approved in the PUD master plan, as noted in Section 2 of the report's analysis. In the planning department's own words, it does not appear to conform to the approved outline plan. the very question that is before you tonight. It's my hope that this commission, based on the clear facts and substantial deviations of the application, should be disinclined to approve it. The residents of Robinson Crossing are not opposed to development. We would welcome responsible, commercially viable development that upholds Mr. Bridgeforth's initial 2004 investment-backed expectations, development that enhances our city and serves as an asset to the community, an amendment to the PUD that goes through the zoning process and that considers the perspectives, investment, and well-being of the homeowners and residents of Robinson Crossing would be welcome should Mr. Bridgeforth seek it. It's our opinion that the facts of this application are clear, and we hope that the Planning Commission will make the right decision. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you. All right. Look, Hunter Brown is declined. All right, I'll bring it to the Planning Commission for open discussion, debate, or motion.
I would make a motion. I think I was actually on the planning commission when this thing first started to be developed. Hard to believe, but things have changed in 20 years. And they have changed. And I think we tried to address that in December of 2024, that change does happen. And that one of the things that we needed to recognize is that there needed to be some conditions to certain developments that were underway. So I would recommend to deny this application simply because the concept has changed and because it ultimately doesn't meet what we tried to put in place in 2024 of a conditional permit.
Okay. I have a motion to deny by Steve. Do we have a second? Not receiving a second, I'll ask for a second motion. Alternative motion. Further discussion? Does anyone have any questions for
I
staff?
have a question for staff. Sanji, legally on this issue, can you elaborate? Because I think we're kind of thinking it might be, I would just like that to be clarified on what we're voting on.
Legally, we're not voting on the use. That's
Right.
the first thing. We're not voting
Thank
on
you
the
for
use.
clarifying that, because that's already been approved.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The use
The
has already
use-
been correct.
the
So I
use
just want to make
is-
sure that the public understands that. I see that there is drainage there. I'm not sure what the reason is for dividing lots, I think it's 2 and 3. Is there some clarification there for that? Can you give me some clarification?
As to why these lots,
Why do we have 3 lots there? Why can we not have 1 lot there?
I think Mr. Bridgeford just stated something, and I wanted to kind of comment on that for the record, and it's important. He stated that we would like what the use they have in mind, which is convenience store and a car wash. He said we would like them to be on separate lots. So that is kind of driving why you have these being divided into 3 lots. And I should caution something. The zoning ordinance of the city, the project text for Robinson Crossing says convenience store with car wash will be an accessory use to a convenience store with fuel pumps. In the city zoning ordinance, an accessory use has to be on the same lot as the principal use. Otherwise, it's no longer accessory. So that is just something that it needs to take into consideration for the record as we move forward on this. Secondly, I did mention that under the new rules, The lots will have to be minimum 2 acres. Actually, it's 1 acre, not 2.
I understood that.
Just check that. So the reason for dividing this for 3 lots is based on the vision that they have, the intention to have these on separate lots as opposed to having all of them on 1 lot. That's just the reason.
Okay, and you have greenery or landscape of about 20 feet. It looks like there's lots, houses that back up to that.
Yes, ma'am. The project text that was
So that
approved.
will be a landscaped, okay. And then you have the drainage, and then you have the road itself, that easement, and you have another 2 easements going out to Goodman. Okay, all right. I just want to make sure legally that we all are on the same page,
Yes, ma'am.
that we understand that. Okay. Well,
I've got a question before you.
Okay.
So I just want you to clarify the accessory part note that you just made. If it's subdivided and you put a convenience store on lot 3, you would also have to have that car wash on lot 3. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
So you can't have the convenience store with fuel pumps on lot 3 and the gas station on lot 2.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So one other thing I wanted to clarify is, could you restate the process, like after approve or deny, whatever happens here tonight? What's the next steps in this, so that way everybody here would know?
It will go, if you recommend denial, the applicant always has a right to proceed to the Board of Aldermen. Whatever recommendation you make today, the applicant has the right to, you say, I want to proceed to the Board of Aldermen, it will proceed with your recommendation. The Board of Aldermen will make a final decision on it, whether approve, deny. If the board denies it, it dies. Case closed. If the board tables it and requests that they make certain changes to the layout of the lot or anything, they can make those changes and bring them to the board for approval. If the board decides to approve it, the board can approve it, and then they will proceed with the recordation of the plat. After the plat is recorded, they will have to bring in this civil set of plans, construction plans. Some project texts specify that those construction plans have to come before you for approval on the Board of Aldermen. Some are very explicit. This project text is not explicit. It just says those plans will have to be approved by the city. So if you really wanted to get specific, you could. The Board of Aldermen could, and make that a condition in the approval of the final plat. It could do so. This particular project text just says you have to submit the final site plans to the city for approval. So you still have a site plan approval stage, and at that time, for example, right here on the plat, you have an area that is designated for stormwater management. But in the approval of the site plans, the civil engineer will have to submit engineering calculations to show that that area will actually be sufficient, to manage that water. So it is currently designated, there will still be site plan review. You have landscape plans. You have architectural building plans. You have lighting plans, the photometric plans. And one of the requirements of the city is your lights at property line, foot candles has to be 0. So no light from this side, no matter the use that you propose in this area 9, can spill to those adjacent residential property. It has to be 0 at the property line. So all of that has to be reviewed in the next stage if the final plat were approved and recorded. Once that is done, then they can pull, and the building plans are also approved, they can pull building permits and move forward with construction of the site.
Can you go back in the slides, Sanjit, so that we can see the options there again on the application? Yeah, thank you so much.
Can I ask the applicant to, do you still want to go forward understanding the accessory use, splitting it into 3 acres? Or that if you split it into 3 acres, and your intent is to put a car wash? Okay.
We'll revise the plan and make some of the changes that have been recommended.
Okay. All right, I'll open up the motion to the commissioners.
I'll make the motion to table this application.
We have a motion to table by Kim.
Second.
We have a second by Steve. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? The motion to table passes. All right, we'll wait for everybody to clear out before we move forward. You need a break? All right, we'll move forward with new business number 2, an application for final plat of Taylor Estates submitted by Byron Houston, Houston Engineering, PLLC, on behalf of property owners Billy Hall and Dorothy Lowry. The request is to create 8 residential lots from 15.02 plus or minus acres. The subject property is zoned AR, Agricultural Residential District, and is located at the southeast corner of Davidson Road and State Line Road East. Can we get a staff report?
Thank you. This application is submitted by J. Byron Houston, P.E., PLS, on behalf of property owners Billy Don Hall and Dorothy Dell Lowry. The application is for a final plat for an 8-lot subdivision of an unplatted 15.02 plus or minus acre property located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Davidson Road and State Line Road. So you can see Davidson here and State Line here, and this is the property in yellow. The lots I've got numbered 1 through 8, as you can see right here, and here's the subject property. The property is zoned AR, agricultural residential, which does permit single-family residential dwellings. The proposed lots are presently vacant, and all lots exceed the required minimum 1 acre in area. Utility lines are readily available in the vicinity of the property with an 8-inch gravity sewer line. You can see it right here. A 4-inch sewer force main here in red, you can see. A 6-inch water main right here along Davidson Road, and then there's also an 8-inch water main and a 4-inch water main along State Line. All infrastructure completion, if required, shall be the responsibility of the developer of the lots. No variances, deviations, and/or waivers are applicable to the plat. Staff does recommend approval subject to various conditions. So, as previously stated, the purpose is to create 8 lots from a single 15.02 vacant unplatted parcel. Surrounding uses are on the north, up here, AR single-family residential, the east, single-family residential, south, there is a church present, and on the west, single-family residential. The minimum lot size is generally 1.68 acres, which exceeds the 1 acre minimum. The maximum density is 0.53 developed units per acre. The future land use designation is suburban neighborhood. As far as transportation goes, a potential grant through the Metropolitan Transportation Planning Organization would enable the expansion of Davidson Road. The roads have open swale ditches on either side, and there are no sidewalks in the vicinity of the property. Therefore, sidewalks are not required in the AR zoning district. So the next steps would be, upon recommendation by the Planning Commission, the plat will be forwarded to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for consideration. If approved by the board, the plat would need to be recorded. Once the plat has been recorded, lots may be sold or building permits issued for proposed developments on the lots in accordance with the applicable city land development regulations. So the staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the final plat of Taylor Estates, subject to the following conditions. And you can see lot improvements shall be responsibility of the developer. Future development on the lot shall comply with all requirements of the city's various land development regulations. All stormwater improvements must be approved by the city engineer. Unless otherwise specified, all utilities and services shall be installed underground. Add the design minimum finished floor elevations of each lot. The final plat must be recorded before a building permit may be issued for any development on the proposed lots. And minor elements to the final plat as may be required by city regulations and deemed necessary by city staff. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions for staff? Is the applicant here to speak?
Byron Houston, Houston Engineering, P.O. Box 3087, Oxford, Mississippi, 38655. And this one is fairly simple, a whole lot easier than the last one. This one here, we just have 8 lots, and the minimum size, as you stated, was 1.68. And my client does agree to all the stipulations.
Any questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this application? Anyone to speak in opposition of this application? If not, I'll ask the commissioners for any comments, questions,
Make
or
a motion to approve.
motion
To approve with staff's recommendations.
motion to approve by Donnie.
Second.
A second. Second from Diane. Kim. God bless America. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion moves forward. Number 3. Application for final plat for Caroline's Corner subdivision submitted by Everett West Surveying LLC on behalf of property owner Miranda Straffos Collins, Miranda Marie Bridle, Mark Straffos, and Caroline Straffos. The request is to create a single commercial lot of 0.952 plus or minus acres. The subject property is zone C3 General Commercial District and is located at the southeast corner of Goodman Road East and Highway 178, known as 9369 Goodman Road. Could be the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bring us up to where we are here, straight across the street. We could go west from where we are across the railroad tracks, see this beautiful yellow 2-story wooden home that's been converted into a retail shop. You see the driveway here with the parking area. Again, the suggested lot is zone C3 General Commercial District. It's the intent of the property owners to remodel the landscaping along with adding a greenhouse and flower garden to the site. That'd be used to complement the bridal boutique that's there. Except for the front and rear setbacks of the existing building that do not meet the current requirements, the plat meets both zoning and subdivision regulations. Staff recommends approval of the final plat subject to multiple conditions. Got the plat here in front of you, as also shown in Exhibit 2. All existing utility lines, that'd be gas, water, and electric, are available within the general vicinity of this property. The plat does show a driveway and parking lot. During our pre-application meeting, as noted in our staff report, Fire Inspector Captain Jason Code affirmed that the parking lot and driveway complies with the city's fire code to make the fire truck accessible to the building. There would be a waiver that would be asked for. It's in the conditions. A 5-foot sidewalk may be waived along the entire street frontage of the subject property, as there are no sidewalks present along the south side of Old Goodman Road. Therefore, a waiver of the subdivision infrastructure improvement is applicable to this subdivision request. So here's your next steps. Again, as we just said, with the previous application, upon recommendation by the Planning Commission, the plat would be forwarded to the Mayor and Board of Aldermen for consideration. If approved by the board, the plat would need to be recorded. So our recommendation is that the Planning Commission approve the final plat and recommend the same to the Board of Aldermen, subject to the following conditions. Again, we'd look at I thought I had it on here for the sidewalk. It is number 4. Number 4, if you just note number 4, we are going to ask that the construction of sidewalks along Old Goodman Road, frontage of the property, be waived. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions for staff? Is the applicant here to speak on this application? Come on down. Yeah, come on down. Yeah.
All right, Mark Stroff is here.
All right.
What can I answer for you?
Just state your name and your address.
Mark Stroffus, 10180 Cypress Lake Drive North.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Okay.
And anything to add to
Pretty
the
cool.
application?
No, I think I look forward to it. My little girl loves the idea of the bridal store and enhancing downtown. So it's one of the reasons I bought that building, because it's the age and so close to downtown. So yeah, just love it.
Awesome.
She loves it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone to speak in opposition of this application? All right. Ask commissioners for any questions, comments, suggestions, or a motion.
Motion to approve the application.
We have a motion to approve by Kim
Second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. And where are we at? Any other business for staff? Some ordinances you want to talk about? No, never mind. All right, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm sort of hard of hearing, so we'll give it to Steve. I can hear better on this side for a second. Yeah. 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 All right. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? The motion to adjourn passes. Thank you, everyone.